Welcome to Friendly Math 101. Today's lesson is over, solving systems by substitution. Let's first start off by listing the steps for solving by substitution. We're always going to have two equations when we are solving systems. So, step one is to get one variable alone. So we're going to pick one equation and get one variable alone, either the x or the y, it doesn't matter. Step two, we're going to substitute the value that we get when we solve for a variable into equation 2, or the other equation, the one I didn't touch yet. Step 3, we're going to solve for this variable that's left. Solve for the variable. And step 4 is to plug that answer in. So we're going to plug in the value that we get for the variable to solve for the missing variable. Solve for missing variable. So these are the steps we're going to follow as we are doing our solving systems by substitution. Again, the steps are: get one variable alone in either equation, substitute what we get when we do that into the equation that we didn't use, solve for whatever variable we have, there should only be one at this point, then whatever we get for that variable we plug into one of the equations to solve for the missing variable. So here's our first example. We have our two equations here. We're going to solve by substitution. So remember, step 1 was to get one variable alone. Well, if you look at both of these equations, I actually already have a variable alone, this y here. So step 1's done. Step 2, we're going to substitute that value into the other equation. So y is equal to this. I'm going to circle what's on the other side. Y is alone. It's equal to this stuff here. So I'm going to take that stuff and substitute it into my top equation in place of y. Because y equals x minus 1, I'm going to take x minus 1 and plug it into y because they are equal. Since these are equal, I can do that. Now I'm going to plug that in. So instead of writing, I'm going to rewrite everything in the top equation, but instead of writing y, I'm going to write what I have circled, x minus 1. Everything else stays exactly the same. The goal is to only have one variable in our equation, and here we only have one variable, x. We got rid of the y by plugging this in instead. So now that we only have one variable, we can solve for it. So we're just going to use our skills of multi-step equations to solve for x. So the first thing I want to do, I get rid of parentheses always by distribution. This 2x just comes down. We're going to distribute this negative 3. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 1 is positive 3. Bring down my right-hand side there. Combine like terms. My like terms are my x's. 2x minus 3x is negative 1x. So I have negative 1x plus 3 equals negative 1. Then I'm going to come over here to finish solving. I want to get x by itself, so I'll subtract 3 first from both sides. These zero out. I get negative 1x equals negative 4. And get x by itself by dividing by negative 1. So x equals positive 4. Now, if you notice with solving systems, we always give an answer as a point. So we only have half of the answer right here. We only have x. That leads us to step 4. So I'm going to box this in real quick. Not our final answer, but it's part of it. Step 4 is to plug in the value that we got for our variable to find the missing variable. The missing variable here is y. So you can pick either of these equations, plug 4 into x, and then solve for y. The easiest thing to do is to take this equation. It's already solved for y. So I'm going to write it down here. Y equals x minus 1, but we know x is 4, so y actually equals 4 minus 1, which is an easy calculation of 3. So y is equal to 3. Now again, that is not our answer because we need to write it as a point. So my point is going to be x comma y. My x value is 4. My y value is 3. And so my answer is 4 comma 3. That is the solution to my system. So let's do one more example. Following our steps, we have step 1 is to get a variable by itself. Well, we don't have a variable by itself here. Not yet, at least. So we need to get one by itself. The easiest thing to do, if you look at our two equations, is to get y by itself in the second equation. It's already by itself here. It doesn't have a coefficient, or the coefficient is 1. So it's going to be easy just to move over the x's, and then I have y by itself. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to skip the part where I move the negative 5x over, but if I move over a negative 5x, I add it, so it's going to be a positive 5x on the other side. And plus 19, since that's a positive 19. Once I have that, I'm going to get rid of that second equation because now I have this new equation I'm going to use, so I can ignore that one. Now that I have y by itself, I go to step 2, which is to plug in this value. So y is all of this stuff. I can take it, plug it in for y, because they are equal. And then I'm going to come down here. Again, we're going to rewrite everything exactly the same, except instead of writing y, I'm going to write what I have circled there, 5x plus 19. And then we're going to solve for x. Remember, you need to only have one variable in your equation. So we only have x's here, which is good. If you had an x and a y, then you did something wrong. So our goal here is to get only x's in our equation so we can solve for x. Or y if you were looking for y. So what we're going to do here now is solve by using our multi-step equation skills. Here we first want to get rid of parentheses, so we distribute. Bring down this negative 3x, and we're going to distribute this negative 8. Negative 8 times 5x is negative 40x. Negative 8 times 19 is negative 152. Bring down my other side. Then I'm going to combine like terms. I have negative 3x and negative 40x. We're going to add those together to get negative 43x. Bring everything else down. Solve for x. So here I want to get x by itself. I first need to undo what's not connected. So add 152 to both sides. These zero out. I get negative 43x equals 172. To get x by itself, I divide by negative 43 on both sides. That will 1 out here, so I have x by itself finally, and x is going to equal negative 4. So that's part of my answer. I'm going to box that real quick. Now, the next thing we want to do is find the missing variable. So we have x now. We want to find y. Again, the easiest thing to do is plug it into the equation that we solved y for. So y is equal to all this stuff. So I'm going to write that down here. Y equals 5x plus 19. Well, I know x is -4. So I can just plug that in and solve for y. So y actually equals 5 times -4 plus 19. Well, 5 times -4 is -20. And then we're going to add 19 to that, and we get y is -1. Again, this is not our answer. We always write our answer as a point. So my final answer is going to be x comma y. My x value that I found is -4. My y value is -1. And that's how I write my answer, -4 comma -1. Thank you for watching. And for more math tutorials, please subscribe to our channel, Friendly Math 101.